Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to our buddy Sven. Sven? You know what? I'm from Alabama, bro. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, hey, woo, roll tide. I want to give a quick shout out to Sven. So all the way from the Netherlands, I asked for a high five video. He sent me a high five video. I got a high five video. There it is, Sven giving us a high five. Let's give one back. This high five is in honor of Sven to all of you. Keep watching. Here we go. High fives. Behold the power of GH5 with the Shogun. Actually, we're just going to see if it's worth really purchasing the GH5 and the Shogun together. That's today on Inside Craft Show.
Get up. Well, get up. Get up. Well, get up.
Fidget spinner video. Just kidding. Today on Inside Craft Show, we're going to talk about using the Shogun with the GH5. Is it totally worth it? Is it a good combo? You know, that's kind of what we're after. So recently we had a shoot where we had a Steadicam up. Using the Steadicam, we were using the Shogun as a primary monitor for it, so he could see instead of just using the flip screen, even though we use the flip screen. So we're going to take footage shot on the GH5, the exact same shots, therefore on the Shogun. We're going to see what they look like side by side in their raw form and then in their graded form, and see if you can see a difference. That's really all we're going to do. We're going to throw that up there, let you look at the clips, see if you can tell a difference. If you can, great. If you can't, no worries, neither can we. Shogun was set to absolutely basically factory reset model. We're using it as a monitor, and we weren't really worried about pulling the footage from it, but thought it would be a cool lesson. So that said, the first thing I want to caveat before anything is if you do hook the Shogun to the GH5, make sure you've done some testing, some looks, make sure everything looks the way you want it to on both the Shogun and the GH5. Shoot some stuff and then bring it in and look at it in your NLE. All right, so the first shot up here is this guy walking down the hallway. We're in this hotel. There he is, this first piece. I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but there he is, he's walking down, and then we'll watch it again, and you can see a little bit of saturation, a little more dense on the saturation side, blah, 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 walking around. So then the second beat, and of course you saw Matty B wearing a Get Out shirt. He was a crew member on that film. There's me pacing, typical directorial pacing. Jeff's got the Steadicam up. Again, we were just grabbing these shots on the fly, waiting for another location and setup to open up. So we didn't rehearse it, we just jumped in and grabbed them. Figured we'd stabilize it. So this first piece, again, looks pretty decent. Steadicam could be a little better, but it looks pretty decent. And here's the second piece. Basically, we're shooting this for the vlog at this point, but we can use this footage if we needed to. Second piece, again, you can see a little more of a saturation pop to me. It's a little bit more dense, and none of this footage has been touched. This is all raw. The picture profile was standard across the board. Like I said, this is a great test to see what the Shogun and the GH5 do together on a very quick standard for standard test. Skin tone, he's a little more red. You can see a little more red bias in it. So, okay, so we put them together and we're just gonna let it play through. And as you can see with the split screen, one on the right is a little more saturated than the one on the left. But they're not that far off. It's actually kind of in the black levels is what it looks like to me. Jeff will probably evaluate it and say something different, but it looks like it's in the black levels, maybe in the gamma. One of them's got the wrong curve set up. I don't know what the case might be here, but looking at the footage, you can kind of see them moving through. The interesting thing is if you look at the left-hand frame, it is slightly wider than the right-hand frame, even though it's the same image. And that should give you a clue, inclination as to which is which. But if not, we're gonna play these back one more time, and then we'll go look at the vlog side of it. So, I hope you have your guests ready. If you've written it down, great, good to go. So the frame on the left is going to be the GH5. The frame on the right is going to be a Shogun. Again, we are using baseline, standard for standard settings on both the camera and the Shogun. So standard for standard. The interesting thing of note is, of course, the Shogun's going to record at 23.98 4K UHD. GH5, of course, is recording at 4K, true 4K. Shot MOV, and this is, of course, 422. I think it looks better, personally, than the Shogun. The vlog will be the other test. I believe when you do test, baseline everything, otherwise it's not a test. At least give a baseline and then jump in and do all your crazy cool stuff. So many of you guys, my gosh, dude, seriously, to brag again, our subs and our community is so full of amazingly talented people. I'm getting a little bit on the envious side, just on the cusp of envious here. You guys are just knocking it out of the park when I see all this stuff. Anyway, here's the vlog footage. Let's jump in and look at it. It looks good. I mean, it's flat. It's flat vlog flat. But then when we look at the next image, first off, did you see that little shift? That's fascinating. That should give you some inclination of what's what. But look at the black levels again, up a little bit, which is going to be in the curve, the gamma curve. But the black levels are up yet again. Though the image looks identical, I mean, there's not really that much difference between the two in terms of the way it plays. Now, the curiosity will be is how well will Jeff grade each one of these two shots. They're basically the same image, with the exception of a little bit of frame size depth, and a little bit of what I believe to be a color saturation, or I'm sorry, what I believe to be a gamma curve issue, which shouldn't make that big of a difference, but it can, depending on how far you need to push the footage. This stuff is exposed really well, very evenly. You look at the waveform on it, it is fantastic. So I have dropped on, using Lumetri, the very basic, the Alexa default LUT. Why did I use that one? Because it is not customized to anything but the Alexa, and in theory, it should break it and go out of control, which it does. You can see clearly the blue of my M&M shirt my daughter gave me. She picked it out for me for Father's Day, and M&Ms somewhere back there. A little bit darker in this version, and I also noticed a little bit softer skin tone. If you look at my forehead, my raging forehead, I feel like in this first image here, my forehead, as you say, looks fantastic. I have a gorgeous forehead. In the second one, it's a little bit on the smoother side. Now, this is somewhat subjective until we zoom in. 300% or almost 300% in. Pretty big deal. Not a lot of noise either. Looks pretty fantastic. There you can see a shift in the color. You can see the shift in the color of my skin. You can see a shift in the color of the chart. Doesn't look bad, but the color is there. And if you can't notice it, we'll play them back one more time. So here we go. Here's the first shot here. Look at the cheekbone area is what I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the kind of creamy mustard yellow over there. Looking at that line, I feel like the skin tone is more accurately reflected in this. When we jump into this next beat, it does soften up a good bit. You can see that the yellow gets a little bit darker, and you can actually see a little less detail in the skin tone by my cheekbone there. All right, so now we're going to take a look at Jeff's graded footage with the bearded one. So what do you think?
I kind of dig both of them, really. They're two different types, though. Yeah, like the first one is definitely has a higher contrast value, hitting a little higher in the highlights, hitting a little lower in the blacks. Or the second one is more evened out. Blacks aren't crushing, less contrast.
But the skin tone looks smoother to me, is what I was saying earlier. It doesn't.
In the first one or the second one?
The first one looks like it has more detail to me than the second one.
I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah, the first one definitely is holding a little more detail.
Yeah, the second one's a little softer in that.
The second one's a little softer. Not to say that I don't like the second one a good darn bit.
Exactly.
Jeff, what was the first one? Which one was the second one?
The first one, higher contrast one, is the Shogun, and the second one is the GH5 internal.
All right, so what's the final verdict? All in all, the GH5 is a fantastic camera. It does exactly what it needs to do. Having a Shogun, if you already own a Shogun, adding it to your kit, fantastic value. However, I would be a little bit leery of going out and buying a Shogun just for the GH5 unless you want that transcode feature. Transcode's pretty rad. But I also want to shoot in true 4K, not UHD 4K, I want true 4K, which means I'm going to be using the internal side of the GH5 to record that data for me. Also, keep in mind, when that update drops, whenever that may be, please God, let it be soon. When that update drops, we're talking about game changer potential. This could be a humongous game changing element. So when we go back and look at it then, after the update could blow the Shogun completely out of the water. Based on all the specs that they've released, it sounds like it's going to be amazing. Hopefully it lives up to the hype, right? That's what we're after here. Because frankly, at that point, if the GH5 can deliver the color quality that we all want and gets that extra level of detail and skin tone, it truly will become the next level cinema camera. I'm saying it right now. It will become the next level cinema camera. Not a throwaway camera, not a B cam. It will become a cinema camera. The only workaround will always be timecode. I can't help it. I just like having timecode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. This was a viewer request. That's what we're here to do. Let's work as a team, as a community. Hopefully soon we'll have some more fun stuff to play with. I'm still waiting for clearance to give you guys the Master Prime stuff. My email is going crazy. Let's hit that mute button. You probably want to hit the mute button on me, but somewhere up here is some buttons you should hit to subscribe, watch another cool video, hang out. Questions, throw them in the comments. You know we talk to you. The beard is officially on YouTube now, so let's make sure. The beard is Jeff, by the way. Let's make sure to give him some love. Pretty soon we're going to add Dawson. That could be a disaster. I'm out.
Get up. Well, get up. Get up, do the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. It's like that, y'all. Get up.